How's it going?
To end.
How's it going?
To end.
How's it going?
To end.
How's it going?
How is it going to end?
How's it going to end?
How is it going to end?
How's it going to end? How is it? How's it going to end?
I was wondering that myself.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to How's It Going to End? How you doing? That's great. Today I am joined by actor, stunt performer, and member of the unbelievably stacked cast of David Leitch's Bullet Train in theaters August 5th, Yoshi Sudarso. How you doing, man?
Good. How you doing?
All right. Thanks for joining me. I'm always so stoked to be able to talk with anybody involved in the industry, you know. But I think something particularly about people who have stunt performing history, it feels like I'm getting a glimpse into the cool kids table at like lunch. You know what I mean? The kids that everyone kind of saw doing the crazy cool shit, and you were always like, oh, I want to do that. I just don't have any part of that. So I've got to recently talk with Samantha Wynn and Daniela Bergio. So now you, and I'm really stoked to have that opportunity.
Oh, they have way more creds than I do. I kind of like maybe put my foot near their table at some point, and then that was kind of the extent of my existence there at that cool table. So you say.
Right. Well, first things first, congratulations on Bullet Train.
you.
I can't wait to see it. I'm dying to know how it was working with a filmmaker like David Leitch, considering his passion for these, like, you know, intense, high octane action movies like, you know, Atomic Blonde and Deadpool 2, Hobbs and Shaw, but also given his significant work in stunts and his background in stunts. What was it like working with a filmmaker with that, you know, familiarity in that arena?
So honestly, I didn't have too much of like an intricate fight or action sequence. Have you seen the movie?
No, I didn't get. I'm seeing it on August 2nd.
Okay. So, and this interview probably will go out after that, right?
Yeah, probably.
Cool. So there's a scene. I don't know if it's going to make the movie or not, but there's a really cool scene. And there's a bunch of people fighting in the background. And there's swords flying, people flying through the air, hitting a wall, this and that, fire everywhere, 2 stories of fighting. Amazing stuff. And I'm in the foreground with something and dealing with something here and not at all involved with what's going on. That's really cool in the back. It looked really good and it sounded really good. It looks good for the moments that I would try to like sneak a peek while it was happening. And like I saw the rehearsals, but on the day when we were filming it, it sounded really cool. I don't know what happened, but I think that was one of the most intense days on set that we had. There was maybe like 30, it's gotta be 30 performers, all of them doing different fight gags, blood, you know, swords everywhere, wires everywhere, all happening at the same time, rain, and then fire blowing up, explosions and this and that. And I'm over in the front crying or whatever, doing my thing. But it was really cool to be a part of that. I wish I got to be more involved in that portion of it, but I not gonna lie to you, I was not involved in that part.
Well, you know what? There's stepping stones, man. Everything is a lateral leap. What I find so cool is that also, you, just because my nephew is also a huge Power Rangers fan right now. You were a Power Ranger, man. That's the coolest shit ever. Like the
Thank you.
introduction to most, you know, kids when it comes to stunts and pyrotechnics and all that kind of cool and intense karate.
It was mine, yeah.
Yeah, that's so. What was that experience like going from? Because I mean, I think going from something that's so dynamic and loud as Power Rangers, and then to appear in a movie like this, like Bullet Train, which looks it looks so high octane. How did that experience kind of transfer over?
I mean, the thing is, every set is just run differently, but Power Rangers is really, really fast. We shoot 44 episodes in about less than a year, in like 9 months. So it's go, 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 go. But again, same thing with Power Rangers. I wasn't as involved with the action as much on our season, because unfortunately with our season, we didn't get to do a lot of like we call it civvy fights or civilian fights before we do the morph. Because once you do the morph, let me just take the Wizard of Oz, right? Like, let me pull back the curtain for you guys. But, it's Japanese footage, or we have stunt doubles that are inside the suits doing all their stuff. So what they do is, because we go so fast, is they shoot all of our stuff on first unit, and then they shoot all the action stuff, all the monsters, all the Rangers in the suits, all on second unit. So we never get to see that part. Sometimes we get to play on second unit, and it's like really fun, like field trip kind of thing, and then we get thrown back to first unit. So it's kind of the same in the sense of like, I wasn't really in the action, but it's kind of similar in the sense that everybody kind of is a family, and they take care of each other, and people are making sure that everybody's safe. So that like giant gag or big fight scene that we had on Bullet Train, it was intense, but everybody was safe. But it was so cool. Always so cool to watch those kinds of things. I'm not a huge fire guy. I don't really like fire. I just keep getting thrown in the middle of it a lot.
I would watch that movie. Someone who just is like, all right, I'll do it, but it's not my thing. And then you're just surrounded by huge, intense pyrotechnics all the time.
That's my life. That's about right. But I love being in the business, and it is kind of weird to see peek behind the curtain of how things are done. And being such a big Power Rangers fan myself, that was kind of a weird thing to be like, what do you mean I don't get to wear the suit at all, ever?
I bet.
I look good in spandex, dude.
That's I imagine is a whole other level, is like keeping up the physique and being able to actually perform a lot of the stuff. And then it's like, no, everything goes to the second team and they get that done.
Yeah. Hey, listen, they've been doing it for 20 plus years. By all means.
It's one of those things where it's like, just to be able to kind of grab a hold and enjoy the ride.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing too. Like, there's so many out there that really push like, oh, I do my own stunt stuff. I have no ego about that. I really don't care. I don't want to get hurt.
I imagine that's the because that's the same when I spoke with Samantha and Danielle, is a lot of it is like truly there's no sense of like, because I think whenever they show stuntmen or stunt performers in movie and TV, they're like kind of animals, and they're going around just doing the most insane shit. And it's like, these guys, we'll just pay them and they'll do anything. But I think a good portion that doesn't get shown is the idea of like, if I get hurt, I'm not working for months, and then that's not good.
The way to think about it is, because I've come from the stunt world, and Samantha as well, we know what it takes, right? And we also understand another big piece that people don't think about. If I'm doing both, like if I had to do both, okay, but if I'm doing both, like on Power Rangers, there's other people not getting paid to do it too. I'm not getting paid any extra. And my friends are no longer working, because here's the thing. Most of the people that are on set doing stunts are also my friends who I started up with. So I'm taking their job for no reason because of my pride and ego. Like, that's that's an interesting, no, it's true. I think that's an interesting layer that I think most people, there is that ego of like, I can do the drop or the wire work or whatever they feel like they need to do, which I think is much more common now for like, big name actors. They're like, I like to, take part in it. But no, I think that's an insight that most people don't consider. And then I'm totally like, of course, if you're showing your face, by all means do it. But the thing that people don't think about is, when you have a stunt double, it's not just doing the gag on the day when the camera's on you. It's testing the gag before we know it's safe.
The prep and
doing
all that,
it thousands and thousands of times, making sure it's perfect, making sure all of this is right, making sure that this is going to go off, this is going to go off, this is going to go off, whatever. All of that takes a long time. And then, of course, you just throw the person in there, the actor in there. Oh, this is what you're going to do. Turn right when you do this, turn right at this point, and you'll be good. And they're like, oh, I did it. You didn't test it. There's levels to it that people don't see. And it, to me, when you have to go and prove like I did my own stunts, to me, it's usually the ones who don't know how to do that or are incapable generally of doing it, that they have to do this big flex.
It's more to get the badge on the sash
Yeah.
and be like, I did my stunts. Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah. And that's when the stunt guys go, good job.
Yeah. That's what I mean. That's the cool kid table, man. You guys, but that's a whole other level to it too. Is there's like, for some reason, it makes no sense to me in the popular realm of like the industry where, you know, award shows or the stuff that garners typically more like general or casual viewers. There's no sense of like, and the stunt performers of the year. It's like the unsung heroes, which adds a whole other level of.
I guess it is what you're saying. It is the whole idea of like, if they are then highlighted, right, then the cool kids are getting highlighted.
Yeah.
And then the ones who didn't do it get like,
yeah.
And I think it's like a nice balance that we got to find where we can appreciate it without putting it on such a pedestal that it what is it, steps on other people's toes, right?
Which happens with most parts of their parts of the industry, I think. What I love is the idea of going from such a like hyper intensity ensemble thing as Power Rangers, then starring as one of the two leads in Buffalo Boys. What was that transition, going from something like Power Rangers, which is so animated and so hyper intense, and then going to something like Buffalo Boys, which an Indonesian Singaporean action western directed by Mike Willian. That's so fucking cool. Just the concept of a western that has the traits of, you know, traditional old West America, but also a spaghetti western, like, and in Indonesia. So what was that like, that transition?
Well, for me, it was actually a much easier transition in certain aspects and a harder transition in other aspects. So again, the thing is, like, as an actor, you are hired to do a job and the script is a certain way. So you get to play this like heightened sense of reality in Power Rangers, right? And then you're hired to do something else, and it's not as much, it's a heightened sense of reality in a different way, right? Because it's bloody and it's action packed. And so it wasn't that, and it's not like it happened like overnight. It was like, oh, I did Power Rangers in 2014, 2015, and I shot that in 2017. So there was like 2 years in between. I love new challenges. Whenever people ask me, what's the project you want most? And in my head, it's just the next one. Because I want that surprise of whatever it is. I think what's lovely is that I haven't been typecast that I only play this. I'm playing this, I'm playing this, I'm playing this. And I get to play in all these different worlds and kind of touch it and see where I enjoy. And of course, I know which ones I enjoy, which parts that I enjoy. But at the end of the day, I'm an actor who wants to work and who wants to put on screen a good project that I can be proud of. And Buffalo Boys to me was a big part of that, because when I first started my career, my first job that I ever landed was a live action stunt show at Knott's Berry Farm, which for those of you who don't know is very like old school Western kind of dealio. And I was a cowboy. So I learned how to gunsling and all that stuff. So they were worried because I got cast. I was the last character to get cast. They couldn't find anybody, and they finally got me. And it was, I want to say 3 weeks out before filming. And they were like, you need to be like the craziest gunslinger. And I was like, I don't care about that. This is easy. And they're like, oh, I had to teach the stunt guys how to do the gunslinging, because they were like, they learned it for the movie. And I was like, I've been doing this for 10 plus years. Like, this is my shtick. Because, you know, when does an Asian guy get to do gunslinging? So that's always just been something that I've always had, but never used. But it was actually the language that really messed me up, because I thought I spoke the language. And then they were like, this is the, you know, the language. I was like, I don't talk like this. What does that mean? What does all this mean? How do I say that? And then I think that was like the biggest shock to me, that I
that's interesting.
My native tongue.
Well, that's interesting how you well, when you think of what the challenge is of the next project, the fact that it's something that, you know, you didn't necessarily think you really had to hyper prepare for, which
Right.
was what's so cool about the idea of starting off as a cowboy and then going into this feature is there's that sense of representation too. It's a Western almost fueled by something other than like, I mean, the fact that the villain is, you know, colonialism and all that.
Right.
It turns everything else on its head, and then
Yeah.
adding that level of you having to work on the language. What was that like? Because I always find they never talk about that enough. I feel people like when someone has to learn, say, you know, like the Keanu Reeves learning
So-
Japanese for John Wick and all that stuff.
Yeah. So for me, I spoke Indonesian a little bit when I grew up, but then when I moved to America, I did the whole immigrant thing where you assimilate and you lose
Mhm.
all of it.
Yeah.
So when I lost it all, I thought I still spoke it because I was speaking it to my parents every once in a while. But when I went to Indonesia, I was like, oh, this is actual Indonesian. And we had to do it like
Yeah.
in the 1800s,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
was even way like over my head.
Mhm.
So I actually, with the 3 weeks or a month that I had there, instead of doing any of the action, I was like, y'all, they didn't know that I do any action. I was
Mhm.
like, just show me the choreo, give me like less than an hour, and I have the choreo. I'm not worried about the choreo. We're gonna break it up in shooting anyways. I have that. Get me an act like a dialogue coach or a
Mhm.
what did I say? What was it? A speech coach.
Mhm.
So we had somebody come in who just worked with me on the language. So for I want to say 3 weeks to 4 weeks, it was me and him from 8 a.m. to like 6 p.m. sitting down, going through every bit of my dialogue and making it work for my tongue, because some of it just I couldn't get.
Yeah.
So they had to like shift things and make things work. And then we had the other actors. Luckily, they were such lovely people. They came in and helped me do our scenes together and help rewrite certain things because they had an understanding of the language. And then the director came and did a session with me. So it was like probably the toughest job mentally that I've ever had to do. The action was, you know, like I'm used to it. That's not a problem. You know, I had my double. So if I couldn't get something or I had to hit the ground, you know, he was covering me and taking care of it. But I needed the words to come out and not look stupid, right? And because that's what you see, right? That's what you're like, oh, what is this? What is it? What did he just say?
Yeah.
You know, which ended up being the case for Bullet Train as well.
Yeah.
I had my character speaks only Japanese in it. I learned a little bit before that, but when I did that, I also had to improv. It wasn't like a script. So I ended up asking my friends Miki Ishikawa and Mari Takahashi to help me like figure out what I would say. And then I would like send her voice recordings and like, is this right? Am I doing this right? So, you know,
that's so interesting. No, that's actually what's so wild about that is those are the technical aspects that I think most people don't consider. Like there's nothing I was going to say there's nothing better, but there's also nothing worse than when you see an actor go out and just deliver the lines and there's no sense of confidence in the lines. And there's no sense of if they have to speak in a dialect or in another language, there's no morphing of themselves to fit the language, which is something you have to do, especially for a period piece in another country, which is so interesting. And something is so immersive as Buffalo Boys. Cause I mean, that the sets, the costumes, everything was so it was so of the time and so atmospheric.
And what I loved about it was that it was of the time, but at the same time, they like brought something new.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the armor.
Yeah. It's got this modern armor. Flair. Yeah.
I was like, how did nobody think of leather armor for cowboys for the longest time? That is the coolest thing. That's the one thing I wanted to steal from the set, but I couldn't.
Do you have anything from Power Rangers or anything like that?
Yeah, they're everywhere. Pieces here and there. Got my Energem, got my everything. No, none of my suit though, because they chopped
probably.
it all up.
Well, there's some sense of like playtime in that idea of being like, in the moment, sitting back and going, I'm a Power Ranger, I'm a cowboy, so I imagine that's pretty special. Especially, I actually want to go back in time for a second. Leaving Indonesia at 9 years old, coming to California. That's such a monumental shift of atmospheres, of cultural atmospheres and all that. And what was it about martial arts cinema that attracted you in that time?
I think that's something that my parents always loved. My dad especially like loved watching all of those like Hong Kong films. So I just got drawn to it. And I think a big part of it is that having moved from Indonesia to America and not seeing myself on film aside from these films drew another sense of like belonging, right? Like I don't see myself in other movies, but if you see a Jet Li movie, I'm like, oh yeah, like, and then it draws me into this whole like, oh, that's cool, I want to learn martial arts. But again, I don't know if you know this, but my martial arts is all fake. It's all just for film. I don't actually have like martial arts background.
Well, there you go. Well, what I love is I mean, I loved watching, legends like Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung. But I imagine there's a whole other aspect of appreciation when you're plucked from your home and brought into literally a whole new environment. So I got to know top 3 Jackie Chan films.
Top 3 Jackie Chan films.
If you have them locked in.
New Police Story is 100% my favorite.
Yeah.
That's the one with Daniel Wu, and that's his performance in that is incredible, which I believe he's going to be an American born Chinese now, and that looks to be really, really good. I really second Drunken Master 2. That one really hit me hard growing up. And third one,
sorry,
honestly,
to put you on the spot.
Shanghai Noon.
Yeah,
probably Shanghai Noon or Rush Hour. Like Rush Hour was such a they're all so good, but like those I think are my top 3. I know it's not the old school ones, but I think the new school, like that's some good stuff.
That's really solid. Did you ever see The Foreigner?
Yes. Yeah.
I love The Foreigner. I know it's like the more recent one, and it's much more, it's very modern in the sense of like it's a terrorist and he's on a train or whatever. But I think that he brings a whole other side of his performance in that.
Dude, he was Batman in that.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, I mean his sense of duty and his sense of just intense like bravery and all. It was incredible.
I think it's one of my favorite performances as well. The only thing I didn't like was that it was like so grounded in reality, and then out of nowhere he does a back kick who sends the guy flying that looks so clearly wired, and I was like, why did we do that?
That's interesting. Yeah,
that was the only thing that took me out of it, and then I was like, all right, I'm just gonna forget that happened.
Yeah. What are your favorite what did you think of Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Oh, amazing.
Right?
Such a great project.
Well, I mean, I'm looking for any reason to talk about this movie with anybody. So it's like,
great, let's talk about it.
It incorporates, I mean, I always said like Daniel's made 1,000 movies to make one movie with this one, and to incorporate so many different types of filmmaking styles and aesthetics and cultures and all that. And I got to, what was your favorite scene of the movie? Because I have one that just,
my favorite scene of the movie.
If you'd like, I could go first.
Go.
My absolute favorite is, and I think it might be maybe not as like surprising as like some of the other more grandiose scenes in the movie, is the first introduction of Alpha Wayman when he takes down the I forget what that's called around the waist.
Oh, the fanny. With the
the fanny pack. And it's just the most badass intro. The way he's just so precise in his movements. Everyone's like, all right, sir, can you just relax, put it down, whatever. He takes out the chapstick And that's the first moment in the movie where everyone audibly in my theater, oh God, why is he eating his chapstick? And then it just leads into such a intricate and badass scene. And then filling the fanny pack with the pebbles from the fishbowl adds a whole other layer of like, you can almost feel it hitting people upside the head and all that. And that's the movie.
They did a really good job like crafting that scene.
That lit the fire under the movie for me, where it's like, it's already, I mean, the first, 15, 10 minutes is a pretty intense family drama. There's a lot of stuff about culture and a lot about generational issues and generational trauma and stuff like that. And then suddenly now we're all in one setting of an IRS building, and it's just the most awesome action sequences.
So it's not the butt plug stuff that did it for you.
That had me howling, but that is up there. When he first lands and all
the
you
Lee
see
brothers, man.
All you see is the dust go as soon as he lands. And killed me.
So those are brothers, Brian and Andy Lee. I don't know if you know them at all.
No, but I know that was them.
Yeah, so those two, I grew up with them.
Really?
We had a team called Bay, Brian, Andy, Yoshi. But I couldn't keep up with them. They were way too good. But they were like younger than me. They were 13. I was like 17 when I first started. But they would train. Here's how intense they are. I would go to their house after school. We would go train at I would go to their school after school, and we'd train at their school. Then we'd go to their house and eat, and we'd train some more, eat. Then I'd go home and rest because I'm not crazy. And then they would train some more, and they'd wake up in the morning and train some more.
Yeah.
And I was like, y'all
that's
are crazy.
Intense.
They are what they preach, and they train so hard. And I was like, I love you guys. I can't keep up.
And that shot where they strike the pose and they're just, the butt plugs are hanging out, and it almost like you can almost see like ready, begin, and then the 2-on-1 fight scene is just so
beautiful,
so good.
I'm glad they're putting their talents to good use with that.
I have to
nobody can move like them.
I have to get the A24 as a candle butt plug with Deirdre Beardre's name on it. I want to get it just to keep it on the desk. I'm not going to light it ever. It's going to stay like that forever.
Oh my gosh. It's wild.
So good.
I think my favorite scene was the One Car Y scene.
Mm-hmm.
That's the scene where we see Key like really just hit it home.
Yeah.
That scene I think was my favorite. It was
Phenomenal.
like it slowed everything down.
Mm-hmm.
And was just like the reality of what the hero, believed she needed, and then flipped it on its head.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I love that scene so much.
His double monologue, where
side by side,
that's just so. I mean, they did such a great job at creating a sense of a multiverse. The idea that it is all happening at once. And what are the odds we get to see two of the ones where they're both giving like an emotional speech? One is a successful billionaire. One is, the owner of a dry cleaners, but they both have the same amount of heart. When he breaks down and he says he feels like part of it is his fault. I think there's no part of this movie that anyone watches and can't find something to relate to latch to themselves. You know what I mean? Whether it be the children of immigrants, or whether it be elderly people that can't change with the time, or the fact that she doesn't bring joy in that first meeting with Deirdre, and she's throwing out these specific tax words and terms and all that, I just God, in love with this movie.
I can't wait. Michelle Yeoh was like my first crush ever.
I was gonna say
I can't wait to work with her.
Police Story 3 was one of my 3, and she's phenomenal in that. And I saw Everything Everywhere All at Once in the Alamo, and have you ever been to the Alamo Draft House?
Mm-mm.
It's a movie theater where they serve food and drinks and all that. But before the movie, even before the trailers, they just show relevant clips to the actors and like the vibe of the movie. So they're showing a lot of the bloopers from Super Cop 3, where she's doing that fall onto
the car,
and then she keeps flipping over,
falls off,
and she talks about she nearly died in that one, and the only thing that really kept her was Jackie held her on for like a second longer than if she had landed the car behind them wouldn't have had the chance to see her fall over, and
Yeah.
it's just so intense. So yeah, that's actually an interesting question. Obviously Jackie and Michelle, other actors or performers you'd love to work side by side with?
Oh, Zachary Levi,
Yeah.
one of my favorite actors.
Yeah.
Definitely would want to work with him. But honestly, I want to work with all
Yeah.
of the Asian actors who kind of paved the way for all of us. Daniel Wu, Sandra Oh, I mean, Henry Golding, Gemma Chan,
Mhm.
Chris Pang, Desmond Chiam,
Yeah.
Samantha Nguyen,
Yeah.
all of them. I can name them all. As many as you want. I'll keep going.
Yeah.
We'll be here till sundown. I want to work with
There's
all of them. I
gotta
want to
be
work with my friends.
there's got to be a special sense of camaraderie in that idea of there is a wave of people that truly paved like the road, who opened every door possible for those behind them, which yeah, no, that's got to be incredibly
Jason
special.
Scott Lee,
Yeah.
Hiroyuki Sanada, which yay, got one. All of them, man. Robin Show, all those guys.
Do you think you have a hold on your first Jackie film you ever watched when you were little?
What do you mean a hold on?
Like, could you recall the first one you ever saw, or anything of his first?
The first one that I ever saw?
Yeah.
I don't think I know. What? Probably Dragons Forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Yuan Biao is like actually my favorite of the three dragons. He's my favorite. That's why I for the longest time I was more acrobatic than anything else because of Yuan Biao, because his acrobatic like athleticism was just crazy.
It's insane how different stylistically the different styles and all that were brought through. I can't remember which one it is with Sammo, but there's one he's fighting. He's fighting this white lady. I can't remember which movie it is particularly.
Unlucky Stars.
But I think so, where he kicks her. There was something also just like seeing a robust guy. I think in another movie he plays a character named Fatso, and it's just so funny seeing him be so unbelievably athletic and doing the most intense shit. So that was always like, something of mine.
Fair.
But,
dude, Sammo actually, like, I think is the best choreographer of the three.
Yeah. I mean, it's something else. It's one of those things where if there's the multiverse, that's a universal consistency. The three of them have like opened those doors in every multiverse, in every universe possible.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Well, I want to thank you so much.
For sure.
Thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it. Tell people where they can find you.
Follow me on all social media platforms, Yoshi_Sudarso, and catch Bullet Train August 5th and 47 Ronin when that comes out. Who knows when. And that's it.
All right. You can support the podcast by subscribing and watching on YouTube at Comedian Cinema, or by listening, rating, and reviewing on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your audio podcasts. I'll see you guys next time.